Welcome. This is Rolf Versluis, co-founder of Horizen. Welcome to our quarterly live stream. This is January 29th. This is where we talk about all the accomplishments we've done in the last quarter, update our roadmap, and highlight some of the wonderful things that have been going on. Your host is my fellow co-founder, Rob Viglione. Here you go. All yours, Rob.
Thank you, Rolf. And before we really get into this stuff, guys, look at the bumper sticker on the bottom here of the slides. And if you have any questions, please go to menti.com and use the code on the slide here to input your questions. And as always, at the end of this, we're going to do a Q&A. So Rolf is going to lead that one because I'm going to have to step away after I'm done talking here. But yeah, let's get into it. We have a lot to cover today. We're going to kick it off by basically doing a 2019 review. So you're going to see by quarter major deliverables, major themes, products, and big community initiatives that we've been doing. So let's move on to the next slide, please. And we'll just dive right in. So as always, I'll kick it off with a big shout out to 3 outstanding community members that have really been making an impact on us. And this is a community startup. So how we do with our community, how we build the community, how we interact as a community is absolutely critical to our growth. So really happy for that. Then we'll do the big 2019 review. I'll try to hustle through that because we have a lot of material to cover. We'll get into some BD updates, some very important ones that I'm really excited about. Then development projects updates. We'll run through the list of all of the active projects, status updates on all those. And we've got a lot going on, a lot of progress. And you can see our progress has been accelerating because our team has been expanding in a very significant way. And then I'm going to pass off to, we're going to do a bit of a double team on some very important engineering deliveries that have been ongoing, or work that's been ongoing with Alberto. Then we're going to give a little sneak preview into a very exciting academic style paper that we're going to be publishing basically ASAP as of now, and talk about that as an extension to the sidechain model that we've already been working on. I'll hand off to Alan. He's going to do the usual nodes health status check. You're going to see what's going on there, all the improvements that are ongoing, and basically see a review of how large our network is growing. And then we'll hand off to Lucy. She's going to dive into the marketing updates. You're going to see how large and fast our community is growing. Fantastic activity there. Then we'll wrap up with the usual regional activity, where we'll get into each of the regional leads and all of the work that's ongoing that you can look forward to in 2020. And speaking of 2020, a big thing that I didn't mention here, but it's at the tail end of the development updates, is our 2020 roadmap that we've been talking about. You guys, what Rolf mentioned before is we can't take anything for granted, that maybe we have a lot of new users into our ecosystem now. So maybe you're new to this. This is your first live stream that you're viewing. So we're going to take things a little bit slow and try to explain everything that's going on, but in particular for the 2020 roadmap, there's some really fun, exciting stuff on the horizon for that. So let's just dive right in, guys. Next slide, please. All right, so the 3 community member highlights. This is the 3 very impactful community members. We have some other, obviously, fantastic Zen evangelists, and you guys know who I'm talking about. But Marco Jenkins wanted to do a shout out for you. You're always available in the community and instigating some very nice discussion and explaining things to other community members who are new. So thank you very much for that. Ghost, you're new to the community. We love you. And it's great just having a lot of these types of questions and commentary and discussion that you're instigating in the community. This is the type of stuff we need. We need more activity where, we take it for granted sometimes that people have been around for a while in the community. That's absolutely not the case. And it's great that we have these recurring discussions that really, delve deeper into the things that we're doing, because we want to be as transparent as possible. And getting these kinds of open discussions absolutely super helpful for us as a community. Raul is in Colombia and instrumental in our Latin American groups, so very helpful. Getting the word out to the Spanish-speaking community, especially in Latin America, absolutely critical for us as a big growth market. So really happy for that. Thank you very much. And guys, if you have other people that you want to highlight, for these community member highlights, please reach out to our famous or infamous Horus Feathers. So Erica, she's the one who manages all of that. Reach out to her, give a shout out to those in the community that you think are going way above and beyond. And we have many of them. So distilling this down to 3 every live stream is, an impossible task. So, but we have to do it. So please make your recommendations. Next slide, please. All right, so this is something that I'm really excited about. Is as an organization, we need to think deeply about what we're doing and why we're doing it and how we're doing it. And if we don't, tackle these very kind of basic topics of why do we exist and like how are we going to do what we claim we want to do as an organization. What I wanted to do now was to actually refine our vision and mission. And this right here is Horizen's refined, basically clarifying our mission. And this is the statement: it's to empower people and bring the world together by building a fair and inclusive ecosystem where everyone is rewarded for their contributions. So you can see the themes here. We're bringing people together, we're tearing down barriers, and we didn't mention technology specifically here. We all know that we're a blockchain-based technology project, right? But what's the point of all of this? The point is to build a community and to empower that community, bring people together and empower them with incentives. So what we're doing here is this is a peer-to-peer ecosystem, peer-to-peer infrastructure that we have. And one thing that I think we do well, and obviously we need to always refine that and try to get better at it, is we align the economic incentives in our ecosystem in a way that empowers people to be part of it and encourages them. We don't want, ultimately we want to give people opportunity around the world in places especially that don't necessarily have the same opportunities that some of us do in some parts of the world, right? So that's what we're all about. This is our mission. It's really powerful. I encourage everyone to internalize this. Our team, obviously, we've discussed this, and everyone's super excited for it. We've had internal discussion, but now this is meant for the community. Internalize this message, and get the message out. Get it out within your network. Help spread the message of what we're doing, but more importantly, actually live by this. So get out there and actually try to help bring people together and empower them. Right? That's what we're all about. And it's a really nice, clean message that you'll see the subsequent stuff that we're doing strategically, tactically, all supports this. So awesome job, especially big shout out here to Lucy and her team for really refining this in such a nice way. Next slide, please. All right, 2019 was insane. So 2019 started off with a little bit of a technology crisis. Alberto probably remembers this extremely well. But it started off with an inflation bug in the zero knowledge library that we were using. And this was a problem, endemic to all, snark-based cryptocurrencies that were based on Zcash, right? So we had to deal with this. And in fact, we had some serious engineering work at the very front end of the year geared specifically for security. So you can see every quarter we do software upgrades to our core technology, ZenD. And you see, we'll go through this quarter by quarter, but every quarter there's some update. At the beginning of the year, that was all about security. And actually, specifically what we did is we put in the Sprout ZK cert, zero knowledge snark circuit, which is a non-trivial effort. Very, very so huge shout out to the Zcash team on this for giving us heads up and technology to be able to overcome this, but then especially to our team, Alberto leading that effort to make sure that we can integrate everything properly, make sure it works really well with our technology. So that was great. And you can see the quarterly releases that we do are largely security and efficiency gains, minor bug fixes and so forth. But there's a lot more to this project, right? So the big thing that we did, our core differentiating technology. For those who have been around for a while, you've heard a lot about this so far, but sidechains. So why do we even do sidechains? Sidechains really go towards the belief that we have to scale as a technology, and having a one size fits all blockchain where we try to force as much economic activity and real world use through a single blockchain is not the way to scale, and that's not going to ever be commercial grade or even to realistically scaling into even like a very heterogeneous like DApp domain, for instance. So our solution to this is to actually have a function-specific sidechain system. So we have very secure main chain, the main chain that we've been working on and improving security all along. But from that, have an interoperability protocol where it's completely permissionless, generalizable, and people can launch their own function-specific blockchains that use the Horizen main chain for security and economies of scale in a variety of ways. So research for this started in Q1 of last year, and it's been a wild ride since then. So started off with research proof of concept and going from base R&D, something truly innovative and novel that hasn't been done before, to actually implementing that is a huge engineering challenge. And it's one that we take very seriously and we've been focusing on for the entire last year. And this is the year where you're going to see some key deliveries happen. We'll talk about the 2020 roadmap. So we had to kick this off by figuring out what's going to be our baseline framework. Back in early Q1 of last year, we settled on ScoreX, written in Scala, which was compatible with Java, then built Java wrappers around that. Because Java is just such an accessible programming language, we wanted this to be available to a wide audience of developers, and then we began development. Now, we're not just a technology company, right? We're a community project that's trying to expand in many different ways to make our technology more useful, again, to lower barriers, bring people together, and empower them. So we're constantly working on partnerships and getting Zen, our cryptocurrency, out there into the world in more useful ways. Now, I'm a big believer in what we've done is it starts with education. This is a brand new industry and it's like the wild, wild west. We want to make sure that we first educate people and make sure that they can enter the cryptocurrency world in a safe way where they first understand what they're doing before they just dive in irresponsibly. So we set up Horizen Academy, and this is a free education resource that takes it from the very basics of blockchain, Bitcoin and blockchain, 101, all the way through, what is Horizen, why do we exist, and what are some of the technology components of our system. But it goes from very basic to intermediate to advanced levels. Really happy with that. Jonas, big shout out to him, has done brunt of this content creation along with our design team for a lot of the graphics and other material that supports that. It's a phenomenal resource. We've been getting tremendous positive reviews for it, but it's a starting point. It's a gateway for people to safely come into the crypto world, educate themselves, and then funnel them into doing some useful things with cryptocurrency. We've opened up our team calls. So basically we've had internal team calls weekly for a while now, but what we did in 2019 was we made them public. We publicized this, and then Vano in particular, big shout out to him, has turned them into podcasts. So not only do you have weekly insights, we call it a weekly insider, insights into exactly what we're doing as a team, which I think is a level of transparency you don't often see in any type of organization. But here in blockchain, I think it's even more important because everything's so new. But if you missed the weekly insiders, you can now listen to them on our podcast. And please, guys, do. And this is something we all have to have our mentality of get out there, subscribe to our podcast, subscribe to our YouTube, like it, watch videos, like them, spread the message, right? So you can see the infrastructure is being built to do exactly that. And then we're looking into other business partnerships. So we struck a partnership with Hot Import Nights, which is a phenomenal, very high-end car company. So basically getting like cars from Fast and Furious and getting a community, a very large community in millions around the world. It's a very forward-looking company that actually wants to get into the crypto domain. So we are their crypto partner, really happy for that. Looking forward to more extensions to this partnership other than we worked on a trade show with them early last year, but we're looking to extend that into the product domain as well. Speaking of products, so now our biggest, maybe we don't call it a product, but the node tracker. So what Horizen has really kicked butt on over the last couple of years is building out the largest infrastructure in the industry. We have now, our most recent count is over 38,000 nodes. So these are servers around the world that are running our software. This is a staggering number that exceeds, if you were to add up the next few projects in size, add them up, and we're still greater than them in terms of infrastructure. Now, the point here wasn't to actually have people just stake Zen and take it off market and make that the objective. Not at all. What we're doing is we're building out a large infrastructure with staked Zen so that we can now roll that into proof of stake sidechains. So it's a very strategic thing that we've taken a couple of years to unroll, and now that's being matched with new technology deliverables we're bringing to market. Now on the product side as well, we launched Sphere by Horizen. This was a really exciting project for us because it was our own wallet designed from scratch. To be, ultimately to be more than a wallet and be our dashboard or gateway into our broader Horizen ecosystem, especially with sidechains. We released that with a user console. It's really meant to be user friendly. It's a very beautiful wallet. So we've been doing a number of improvements to that over the last year, and we'll get into those specifically. But we launched it originally in Q1. Now rolling to Q2, like I said, we upgrade our core software every single quarter. Just kind of on the dot. We want to make sure that we're doing constant bug fixes and improvements and just have like a very regular schedule of doing that, especially for partners like exchanges that list Zen. they need to have a very clear software upgrade schedule. So we do that quarterly. We moved our code, in Q2. Like a lot of our code was not in public repositories. We made a big shift here of wanting to do more public, or make our engineering more public, because there was a lot of sophisticated original engineering that's been going on in this project. And originally, like our earlier philosophy was get it right privately, test it, and then move it public for people. But what we wanted to do was, and Rosario was a big component of this, was get more of a public footprint for everything. Open up our team meetings, open up our engineering, and that's been a phenomenal success for us. So that was really good on the our engineering side, moving that public. We also on the BD side had a series of new exchange listings. Importantly for us on Bittrex, we had the Zen USD trading pair. And then we continued some important sidechain development in Q2 of last year. So working on the Sidechain SDK, the software developer kit, and Alberto is going to talk a lot more into what went into our alpha release last year and what exactly that SDK is and the implications of it for developers. But then we also went into, importantly, consensus selection for the sidechain. So we're launching the first sidechain, say a reference sidechain, and we had to choose which blockchain consensus do we want for that. Very important decision. We chose a peer-reviewed consensus protocol designed by IOHK called Ouroboros Praus. This is the type of technology in Cardano, and Alberto can go into more details of why we chose that. But it was a big, big process for us in Q2. Then the partnerships and marketing side, we've really been turbocharging over the last year. A major development for the ecosystem was that Horizen Labs launched. Now, this is a sort of companion company to what we're doing here in the Zen Blockchain Foundation. Here, we're doing public infrastructure, kind of like a public utility. We want to do base R&D, science and development, community growth and development, engagement, and so forth. Horizen Labs launched and raised $5 million in VC capital, specifically to commercialize the technology that we're building here. And rather than have this mentality of we're building really cool technology, we think people are just going to come and spontaneously use it, which I do think is the case. And we're going to have a whole bunch of developer tools to turbocharge that. But we actually launched a company so that we can go out there and bring in serious businesses. And we've already forged some serious partnerships on the Horizen Lab side to be users of the technology here, to actually bring significant businesses and economic value onto Horizen sidechains. So that was a key development for us. Launched a new website. Everything's been redesigned, beautiful. Launched Zen Trivia, merchant directory. And this is something that we're going to be piggybacking on in 2020. You can see we have kind of a very methodical path for building Rails, and then continue to grow things on that. And Horizen had its second year anniversary in Q2. Really excited for that. Next slide, please. In Q3, again, software delivery is here. So you can think of, for us, big theme is we need security on the system. We want to have more tools available to people, to have more network intelligence. That was the theme for the ZenD release in Q3, to provide some tools for, say, exchange operators who might want to have a little bit more insight into what's going on in the blockchain. Are there, say, like orphan blocks? Are there parallel chains that could be potentially malicious and so forth? So added some more tools for people there. On the product side, continuous improvements on Sphere by Horizen. Something critical here for one of our critical stakeholder groups, node operators, built in some tools there with batch withdrawal, batch split, private key balance sweeping. So tools really for people who run nodes to be able to more easily use Sphere to maintain those operating processes. Something we did as well, we've had for a while a concept that was fairly old in the Bitcoin world. The early days of Bitcoin, people realized this is a very new technology. What we need to do is just get a lot of Bitcoin out to a lot of people for free. Rather than convincing someone to go out and buy some cryptocurrency, let's just give them some. So the idea of a faucet was created. The faucet was just to go out and give anyone that wants to experiment with Bitcoin a little bit of Bitcoin. So what we did is we modified this. Anyone that wants to experiment with Zen, give you a little bit of Zen. Now, this was a project that's been kind of a, Jonathan and Gustavo are the masterminds of this, of how do we change the concept of a faucet into a game? And there's a whole path in between there. And what we've been doing is gamifying the faucet. And we'll talk about that in more detail. Really in Q4, we started turbocharging that, and our community growth has been off the charts since we started doing that. And another major project here, we have to think, who are the major stakeholder groups that we need to incentivize? So Horizen, again, is about empowering people and incentivizing them appropriately. We need to incentivize developers. Getting community developers into our ecosystem and productive is critical. Two problems that I saw with open source development is, one, who knows what to work on, right? You've got a team like us that do this professionally full time, and we know we're in the grind every single day, but are we effectively communicating to external people, what they could do to productively contribute? Not really. It's hard, right? It's hard to do that. So we wanted to create an environment where we curate development opportunities and then present them to the community. And the second problem I see with open source, at least traditional models, is expecting people to do a whole bunch of work for free. So what we want to do here is we want to couple the curated opportunities with actually get rewarded to work on them. So here's where we turn the incentive mechanisms to the developer community through the Horizen developer environment, and hopefully turbocharge our open source contributions. This is a project that started in Q3 of last year. Jonas has been doing a phenomenal job with it. Now, looking through Q1 and Q2 of this year is where we're looking to actually go live with beta version, and then ultimately resource it and try to turbocharge the community development. And what's really good about this is that it should be concurrent with at least the beta delivery for the sidechain system. All right, so sidechains, continuing a ton of work there. Set up multiple sidechain nodes on testnet. They went live in Q3. Major milestone for us. We have some videos done on it. Alexander did a phenomenal job in those videos. Really nice to see the team directly. Had a bunch of other exchange listings, some of them fairly large, like bw.com. So we're always working on getting Zen out there into more markets and making it more accessible for people to get their hands on it, to trade it. Marketing team's been growing phenomenally and improving everything that we're doing. So Horizen went live on Instagram, on Medium, expanding the communication channels we've been on, improved the website, launched the weekly insider in Q3, where we made everything public, our team calls, which is a really phenomenal thing. Then Vano podcast those, like I said. And our exponential growth campaigns have been really kicking butt. We've been getting hundreds of thousands of new users into our ecosystem, and this is just the start, guys. Q4, software upgrades, ZenD. So working on external dependencies were updated, new DNS seed nodes on testnet and mainnet, critical for especially our sidechain work. And Alberto will talk about our sidechain testnet specifically. More Zcash upstream improvements, especially here, vulnerability fixes. The product side, new improvements, bug fixes to Sphere by Horizen. Importantly, what we did here was we took the product in-house. Now, what a lot of people didn't realize before was Sphere by Horizen was an outsourced product previously. And what I wanted, as our engineering team has been expanding significantly, we have such a highly capable engineering team, UX team, design team, marketing team, so forth. I consider this a composite product team. So now we're building out more of a product team, which will take some time, but Sphere by Horizen was taken in-house, and now we're starting to really improve the architecture and overcome some of the performance limitations that we've had on that so far. Other things like Zencash.js, library for that, which is a critical dependency for a lot of products out there for us. We've had improvements there. Swing CI. Sidechain's major development here. So this is where Alpha was released to market in October. So this was a critical deliverable. And Alberto, again, is going to get into that. I don't want to talk too long about it, but this was really a signaling to the market, and especially to developers, to start seeing that we're doing some very sophisticated original work, and we want the developers to start playing around with that. So we released it with sort of a, like Alberto calls it, like a play consensus, not a real consensus, blockchain consensus there, but the tools were released, at least in alpha version, so that developers can start getting a feel for it. And work on beta began literally the same day, I would say. So the team didn't take a breath at all, just started diving right into beta development. Main chain implementation on the sidechain work was, had a huge deliverable there. So what we haven't necessarily been making clear is there's a ton of sidechain work that's going on, but our main chain needs to be modified to be able to support this open sidechain protocol. That work made major leaps forward in Q4. And then, and this is something we'll talk about distinctly, but we've started working on the concept of an extended model, going beyond the certifier system that we have in the alpha and what will be delivered in beta. And we'll talk about that. Alberto will talk about that specifically. The marketing team really stepped things up big time in Q4. So Q4, we saw community growth really go through the roof. The numbers are going exponential. And a big part of that was, like I mentioned before, the Horizen faucet and some optimization. So we spun out really towards the tail end of Q4 and bleeding into Q1, we spun out a dedicated growth team. And the growth team is really taking very, very aggressive, say, weekly growth sprints for optimizations on the faucet. So we do a lot of trial and error. We're constantly looking at data on, if we do a modification to the site, we measure immediately who's actually using that. Are they or not? And if they're not, modify it. If they are, expand on it. So it's been really great. Our growth, again, has been going exponential. Lucy is going to get into those numbers, but really phenomenal. I'm really happy for that. And ultimately, maybe Jonathan doesn't want me to talk about this much, but we're going well beyond the idea of a faucet. So we shouldn't even be calling it a faucet anymore. We're going to rebrand that, but it's ultimately turning into like a social, like gamified environment right now. So great work going on there. Sidechain video series was released. So we had Alberto, Rolf, and I talked about that, as well as the team actually working on these things, like in the trenches, talked about certain elements of the Sidechain system. So that was really, I think, excellent video series to see in the trenches, behind the scenes, what was going on. And we also had many events. And again, Lucy is going to go into all of the events that happened last year. But next slide, please. There was a lot to cover here, and going from Q1 through Q4 of last year. 2019 was kind of insane as we refined our organization and really started turbocharging how we work. The deliveries across the board, across the organization, have been like on steroids. So it's been great, but 2020 is even accelerating further. Now on the BD side, this is for me a huge development for us, and Zen is now on Abra. So Abra is one of the original Bitcoin applications that launched for the remittance market. So targeting people that want to use their mobile devices to either find other people to exchange cryptocurrency or to act as vendors for cryptocurrency. So if you want to buy or sell, say if you're a worker in one country and you want to send funds back to your family in another country, Abra was designed for exactly that. I'm really happy that they went beyond just Bitcoin and they've loaded in a bunch of other cryptocurrencies. Zen is one of them, which I'm really happy about. They have over 1 million users in over 150 countries around the world where you can buy, store, and trade cryptocurrencies. Now, so happy that Zen's on there, and I want us to do more work with Abra specifically. So multiple cryptos are supported, like I said, but importantly, you could do ACH and wire transfers in the US. So that's a really important thing. The US market's huge. And getting capital into the cryptocurrency world is something that we need to do. We have a lot of frictions historically there, and the more tools we have that smooth that barrier is fantastic. SEPA transfers accepted throughout the EU, and Amex accepted via Abra, while Visa and MasterCard are accepted with their partner Simplex. So please, guys, as community members, download the app. It's available for both Android and iOS, and start playing around with it. So we need to get Zen more usage on there. Next slide, please. Something that we've been foot stomping a bunch is, in this very new industry, it's hard to discern quality across thousands of projects that are out there. So it's great that the traditional financial world, there are ratings agencies out there. So there are organizations where their fundamental job is to review the fundamentals of projects. Traditionally you see this in the equities world or stocks. You see companies that companies are covered by analysts, and you see ratings on the stocks. Well, in the crypto world, we have a company called Flipside Crypto. They're partnered with Moody's to do exactly that for cryptocurrencies and review the projects and provide some market intelligence. And what they've done is they look at projects across developer behavior, user activity, see how active and used is the chain, which is a key performance metric, and then market maturity for the currencies or coins that are traded. For us, really happy to announce, not announce, we've been talking about this, but Horizen has been a top 10 project for some time now on FCAS. So this is a great view for people that might be new to the industry, or maybe institutions or professional investors, to look at a normalizing metric that gets into the heart of these projects, gets beyond the hype, beyond the claims the projects makes, and actually looks at the fundamental behavior and assigns a ranking. So we're an A-rated project. And we're in the top 10 right now. I believe we're number 8 in the overall market. So for a project like ours that was ranked 130 in market cap, 6 months ago, now we're 55 or so in market cap. It's amazing that we're number 8 in terms of fundamentals. So really happy for this metric. Love the guys at Flipside Crypto. They're phenomenally professional and amazing analysts as well. The next slide, please. All right, the Zen Blockchain Foundation. Now, this warrants a few minutes to talk about the organizational structure for our ecosystem. So we are an open, decentralized blockchain ecosystem, but we have certain entities within the ecosystem that are driving certain things. The Zen Blockchain Foundation was a legal entity that originally launched this ecosystem and have been, guardians or the people in charge of the treasury resources. So we know that there's 20% of the block subsidy goes into a treasury pool. The Zen Blockchain Foundation has been governing that. The foundation has a board of directors now, an independent board, and actually has a budget and professional organization that maybe a lot of people don't understand is available in the cryptocurrency world now. So we run this organization like a very lockdown professional org, or it's like a tech startup, but it's really a community startup. But you can see where does our budget go? About 58% of our budget forward looking into 2020 is allocated to technology. So we have actually more because the UX team is really a tech team as well. So we've got 62% of our budget allocation going towards our technology. So you can see what we're really focusing our resources on because we need to deliver this technology to achieve the mission that we're doing. The brunt of this is going to sidechain development and then new user acquisition because we want to have a massively growing and interactive community. So we're focusing a lot of effort there. Then fiat and on and off ramps with the BD team. We're looking for custody solutions. We want to make the transition for people into the crypto world as easy as possible. And we want to actually capture real, or say like traditional financial activity we want to bring into the crypto world. So we're focusing our resources here. You can see the split by division. Now this is forecast. We're going to update it quarterly. Rowan's been in charge of this process with Michelle on the accounting side. So I really like that now we have a lockdown budget process where budget flows to the division leads, to the directors, and now they have allocated discretion on how to deploy those resources as long as it fits into a broader strategic lens. So that's the breakout there, what we're looking for 2020. Next slide, please. Engineering team growth has been phenomenal over the last year. So I have to give the engineering team tremendous credit. So the leadership there with Alberto, Maurizio, Rosario on a process for bringing on people. And we can't forget the HR side. Leslie's been phenomenal to find and acquire some of the best talent in the industry and bring them into our project. So now these guys, just a little caveat, are working on the Horizen Labs side. Horizen Labs has basically been the technology arm for the foundation right now. So the foundation has been contracting with Horizen Labs, and these developers have taken our engineering team to the next level, and we're able to do so much more work now. So my prediction is the delivery schedule that you guys are used to is going to be accelerated. And Alberto, don't go crazy on this because your team's actually responsible for delivering things, but that's my prediction. And it's a prediction based on the experience that I've seen so far. So the team is outstanding, much more sophisticated than, honestly, guys, I've seen before personally in this industry. Of course, there are some amazing projects in the industry, but Horizen now is one of these amazing projects, hands down. And it's at the core of this engineering team that's making this innovative technology possible. So amazing. Very happy for the team growth there. 10 new outstanding engineers. You see some skills listed here, specifically C++ and Java. But as we discussed previously, these are all full stack engineers with a broad suite of skills behind them. And we're working in different different languages as well for specific libraries, like in Rust, for instance. So the skill set here is much more broad and diverse and deep than this slide, which is phenomenal. But even this, let's on. Next slide, please. All right, so I'll run you through the active projects that we have going on. So things in blue, and on this slide, they're all in blue, are things that have updates, so new information available. So the Sidechain SDK beta, this is the big delivery for Q1. We're about 70% complete on it, and I'm gonna reserve the details here for Alberto to go and talk about that. The main chain changes that support sidechains, again, delivery for Q1, because this we're looking to support the beta delivery. Sphere by Horizen, we have continuous improvements there. Importantly, though, we brought this project in-house. So we have more control on quality and more control on the architectural choices that are made for it. And ZenD, so the usual quarterly upgrades that we have going on there. So next slide, please. Horizen developer environment. So we're booking is almost 50%, almost halfway there. So we're looking for a release here in Q1. We want this to be the first phase to at least get it out there to the community because we want community members to start using it. Now, I said this is the Horizen developer environment. but we are going to have more than just development tasks here. What we want to do is empower the community. And there are many other types of contributors to these types of ecosystems that go beyond engineering. So we will have other types of curated opportunities for people as well. Main chain block explorer upgrade. This is actually an important infrastructure thing for us. Integrating it with ZenD with the latest Bitcoin Core Explorer version. So it's a big improvement upgrade for us on the infrastructure side, which is important. And then Sphere Mobile, this is a project that is so close to done, but we've actually put on hold for a variety of reasons. We have limited resources. We have to be honest and mature about where we are and focus on the most important things. Now, I am very convinced that we need very good mobile technology here, but with this one, we don't want to rush it. We have some UI fixes and testing, and because we took the Sphere by Horizen product in-house anyway, now we want to make sure that everything's consistent, the architecture is optimized. So more on that, but for now, at least for this information, it's on hold. Everything else in black here, no updates, guys, from the previous live stream. Next slide, please. All right, so Horizen Sidechains. I am going to finally stop talking for a bit, or I'll join Alberto in a tag team effort on this one. But really, this is, please, Alberto, step in. This is a phenomenal update for the community. I'm really happy to have you walk us through it.
Thank you, Rob. So let's talk about Sidechains. Okay, before going in details about beta, I think it's worth giving a little summary about what was alpha that was published in October. So let's see first from a main chain perspective. We introduced the concept of sidechains in main chain by introducing, for example, the transactions that allows a user to create sidechains. And moreover, we gave the possibility to perform forward transfers. That means give the possibility to create main chain transactions that are able to spend main chain UTXOs and send them to the sidechain. And this was the main chain perspective of the alpha release. But instead, from the sidechain perspective, we provided a first SDK version that was giving the possibility to create a real blockchain network with a very basic consensus, but providing the possibility to include the main chain forward transfers and use the transfer coins within the sidechain. So what does this mean? It means that a developer was able to use the SDK to create a sidechain network that was able to include main chain sidechain related data, receive coins in the sidechain, and then transfer coins within the sidechain by issuing transaction inside the sidechain. And this was, very briefly, the major functionalities of Alpha. Okay, now let's talk about what we are currently working on. The main elements that are part of beta are consensus implementation in sidechain, the implementation of the logic in sidechain, or the epoch logic in sidechain, and the certificate management in sidechain and their acceptance in main chain. And last, the sidechain test framework. And these are obviously just the main elements, but many other components will be part of it. Just for making an example, we're implementing the logic that is responsible for handling reverts in main chain to properly keep track of the state changes of the sidechains that are involved in such reverts. Okay, but let's go through the main elements of beta. Okay, first, consensus. As we said, Alpha contained a very basic consensus. Beta SDK is going to include an Ouroboros browser implementation with additional, let me say, management of main chain block references. This means for implementing all the history and state-related parts of the SDK to reflect Ouroboros browser rules. Moreover, we are also introducing the stake delegation transactions that allows sidechain user to use his stake to be eligible as a slot leader in an Ouroboros consensus epoch. So let's say, for example, you have some stake in sidechain, you want to be eligible as a forger, as lot leader in a specific epoch. So you're going to create a transaction that spends some UTXO in the sidechain and create such, let me say, and use that stake to be eligible in a next epoch as a Robo lot leader.
So just to be clear, though, and this is the difference for some other sidechain technology on the market, this is Zen stake, right? So this system is designed to actually use Zen as the gas of the system, but also required for staking.
Yeah, exactly. Because, this is an important point. Because we are not creating, if you want as a sidechain developer, you can create your own token in the sidechain. But the system works, let me say, with Zen. So you transfer Zen from mainchain to the sidechain, and the sidechain itself uses Zen for transfer value, but also for reward, let me say, block forgers or slot leaders in the Robert's words. So yes, exactly. This is an important part. Mm-hmm. And coming back to the implementation, let me say another important part of the consensus is related to the management of mainchain forks. And why it is important? Because let's say, for example, if a user made a forward transfer in mainchain, and let's say that such forward transfer is included in the mainchain block, and the sidechain already included the mainchain block reference in a sidechain block, and mainchain block reference, just to very briefly describe it, is, let me say, the sidechain related mainchain information. So, for example, the forward transfer are collected together and included within a sidechain block. And let's say, and this is very important because all the sidechain network, when we'll see such sidechain block containing such mainchain block reference, will be aware of the sidechain related transaction that were included in mainchain, so the forward transfer itself. And the user can use such coins that were transferred, let's say, from the mainchain to the sidechain. But let's go back to the mainchain fork. Let's say that such mainchain block reference, such mainchain block is reverted. I mean, it can happen. Obviously, sidechain should react to this revert by reverting, let me say, the subsequent sidechain blocks of the sidechain block that included such mainchain block reference, because otherwise the state will be inconsistent, because this forward transfer maybe will not be present in the mainchain fork, and so also the subsequent sidechain transaction that use such coins are not valid anymore. So it's an important part of the consensus to keep, let's say, to take care of such mainchain forks and react on them. So this very briefly, the consensus. And let's go on with certificates and epochs. We're not speaking, obviously, about Ouroboros epochs, but about withdrawal epochs, sidechain withdrawal epochs. And let's say that the sidechain's life is split in epochs. And the epoch length is defined in mainchain blocks. So, for example, mainchain will expect to receive a regular certificate from the sidechain after this number of mainchain blocks. So every n mainchain blocks, mainchain expect to receive a certificate, like a heartbeat. This means that after this number of mainchain blocks, the sidechain is obliged to publish a certificate to mainchain, obviously within a certain threshold. And this certificate will contain all the withdrawal transfers that are requested by the users in the sidechain during that epoch. Let's see a typical scenario. For example, a user received some coins in the sidechain. Let's say that he exchanged this coin within the sidechain. And let's say that at some point, one of the users that now owns the coin in the sidechain wants to use them back in the main chain. So to do this, he will submit a backward transfer request in the sidechain, and this means spending some sidechain UTXOs. And such backward transfer at the end of the epoch will be collected with all the other epochs backward transfer, and it will be included in a certificate. So this certificate, with all these backward transfers, will be sent to main chain and will be, let me say, mined in the main chain block. Only at that point, the user will be able to use the transfer coins by, let me say, because main chain node will have, let me say, knowledge about these transfers and will have the proper, let me say, coins, let's say, recreated on the main chain side. And so they will be spendable like regular UTXO in the main chain. Okay, obviously, this process implies also modifying the main chain to manage these sidechain epochs, to accept the certificate, to validate it, and recreate the transfer coins in the main chain. Okay, and now going on the sidechain test framework that, let me say, can look like maybe not such important, but in reality is very, very, very important. Why? Because it plays a key role in assuring the correct interaction between the sidechain SDK and the main chain. In particular, we want to be sure that all the operations that are involving both main chain and sidechains are managed properly. So the interaction should work, and we want to be able to test it. And as you can imagine, verifying it is not easy at all, because it means controlling from a unique program both main chain node and sidechain nodes and verifying that they are interacting together correctly. But let's make an example so it will be more clear why it's not simple. One of the basic tests that we have implemented allows from a single Python script to bootstrap a main chain node network in Rectest. You will be able then, the Python script submit a sidechain creation transactions. After it mines, let me say, tell to a node to mine a main chain block that will include these sidechain creation transactions. And after, the Python script will be able to extract from the from this main chain block the sidechain genesis information that are needed for bootstrapping a sidechain network. So it will take from these it will create a sort of configuration file that will be the sidechain genesis block of this new network. After, the script will load one or more sidechain nodes configured with this sidechain genesis block. And after, the same script will be able to even ask to the sidechain nodes to forge some sidechain blocks. And for example, moreover, could also create a forward transfer from one of these sidechain nodes and send it to the sidechain network and forge some sidechain block, and maybe issuing some other forward transfer in main chain, verify that this main chain block reference is included in the sidechain blocks, and verify that all the balances are, let me say, reacting correctly. So this is very, very, very important because allows to verify that everything that has been implemented, both on the sidechain part and the main chain part, is interacting properly.
Sounds pretty straightforward, Alberto.
I mean, in reality, the Python script, if you look at it, it's quite, let me say, I would not say simple, but I mean, really, because our focus was trying to hide the complexity that's behind this. And so I think that, I mean, it's not so bad. Okay, right? Kind of. I hope so, at least. Okay, and this is, let me say, almost the beta part.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and maybe we can switch about the extended model and about the paper.
Let's do it. This is the even more exciting part.
Yeah, I mean,
especially for the mathematicians out there, this is the really exciting part. Yeah.
Yes, there is a lot of math there. Okay, as we already mentioned in the previous weeks, we have already been working on an extended model that improves even more the flexibility and the security of the proposed system. I can tell you already that the model is heavily based on stars, and during the last month, we have already been working in parallel both on the paper that is formalizing the model and also already on the implementation. So the LaTeX version of the paper was finished this Monday, and we expect to publish it in the next few days. And moreover, after publishing the paper, we are going also to publish the library with the current implementation. So a lot more code is going to be published next week. So,
can't wait. And importantly, this is peer reviewed with IOHK, this paper. So it just went through several iterations of peer review.
Yeah, it has been a long work.
Yeah, but critical. Really, really excited for this. I mean, Alberto, the team's been doing an incredible job, and I'd say this is ultimately your model, your vision, and it's been amazing to see this go from idea to where we are now.
Thank you, Rob. I mean, the team is amazing. Yeah, they're making a very great job. I'm very happy about it.
Yeah. Awesome.
Great.
Oh, thank you, Alberto. Thanks for joining in there. I've got a couple more slides, and then I'll hand it over.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. All right, next slide, please. All right, so this is the long awaited for 2020 roadmap. And guys, you can see there's a ton of activity going on here. So the Sidechain beta is the first major technology deliverable that we're going live with in Q1. So it's a partial implementation of the extended model, not the full extended model. So this is one that, at least from the academic perspective, is based on the original Sidechain paper that we published last year. And then you're going to see work, like Alberto mentioned, work's already been commencing on the extended model. So we're kicking off a voting system research using some sort of zero knowledge identification system. It's a study with actually not UNC. This should be NC State. That we're working with an academic institution and a phenomenal cryptography group and NC State on this. And Sphere Desktop, we're having some of the issues that users have mentioned on performance have been resolved, and that's actually undergoing testing now. We're releasing this month. More modifications on Sphere now to make it compatible with the Sidechain system, so potentially like a dashboard. Sphere could evolve to the original vision here was in more of a dashboard, so we're starting work to see how compatible is the system with what we want it to be. Actually, now that we're much further along the line on developing the Sidechain system. Continuous node tracker improvement. So Alan and Chronic are the unsung heroes of this critical piece of infrastructure. And I'll hand over to Alan after this to really go into the details there. ZenD, the usual deprecation on a quarterly schedule, and bug fixes released. And then a critical process change for us here is now that we are becoming a more sophisticated professional organization, we want third-party independent code audits of everything that we do. So we're starting with basically all of the code up to the last Groth 16 zero-knowledge circuit that we did at the beginning of 2019. So basically all of the code changes from the original, say, like Zcash code base and Bitcoin code bases that we bootstrapped from to the Groth 16 implementation. That's what's ongoing right now with third-party auditor. And then we're going to extend it to the zero-knowledge stuff that was implemented, and then extend that to catch up dedicated work that we've been doing in the Sidechain system. We're not going to go live into production with the Sidechain system until we have rigorous third-party audits on the code base. It's just a process thing, and we want to make sure now we're not This is no longer, I say this industry is no longer, for hobbyists. This is a professional industry. We want to make sure that the work we deliver to market is professional, commercial grade technology. Okay, so also HDE, the Horizen Developer Environment, we want the beta to go live for public testing this quarter. Academy Lite on Medium. So this is basically a subset of information from Academy. We're going to publish to Medium, and then also publishing Academy expert content. Going into Q2, Sidechain Beta 2.0, so improvements to the delivery there. The extended model for main chain support is going to be included with parallel testnet that's going to be launched. Blockchain Explorer upgrade that I mentioned before, usual ZenD, bug fixes, continuing the code audit. The Academy is actually going to be distilled into an ebook that we're going to release. Then node tracker improvements, continue improvements there because the node network continues to grow in size so much. Q3, Sidechain Beta 2.0, let's call it, will be launched the official testnet, not the parallel testnet. This is an important thing for our community and just for moving towards production grade product release. So the Sidechain Beta 2.0 code fixes for any problems that we encounter after releasing in the prior quarter to the parallel testnet will be implemented and released. Academy will now be integrated with a reward system. So we want to now incentivize people to learn. I think this is a really important part of designing incentives to induce people to take actions that we want to grow the ecosystem. And then we'll have HD team requests. So a really cool feature that we've been thinking about there is actually getting open source developers to work in teams. So find other open source developers, form teams, and actually collaborate and work together in an effective, efficient way. Then more node tracker improvements. You can see as the network expands, we have to constantly try to keep up with that. Q4, so we want to wrap up the year with the SDK, added the additional extended model for release in testnet. Really important here. So you're going to see the academic paper released. We're going to publish any day now, and then it'll, once it gets accepted into the publication process, then we'll release that publicly for everyone. So you'll see that hopefully roughly a week timeline. But that is actually, we want to go live, integrate into our SDK Q4. Now we're going to initiate the code audit in Q4 for the SDK with the extended model version of the SDK. Again, critical element to get us to production. And then we're hoping to mature the R&D that we're starting in Q1 and have a publication for the voting system using the idea here. Now, again, I think this is a critical thing for democratizing our treasury, something we've been talking about for a while, but doing it in a way that's compatible, fully compatible with the sidechain technology we have and our growing expertise in zero-knowledge cryptography, especially going from academic expertise to engineering expertise. And then we're going to have social badges integrated to the Academy, an HDE leaderboard set up because we want a competitive environment here, right? Competition incentives and get people to really take a lot of beneficial actions for the ecosystem and more node tracker improvements. So guys, that's what's going on in 2020. I wish I had more time to deep dive in any of these, but make sure you join our weekly insiders and track the progress as we do this. Next slide, please. All right, so this is, I believe, the last slide for me, but just want to say, despite how ridiculously volatile the cryptocurrency markets have been and the price of Zen has been over this last year, our node system has exploded, or I'll say grown significantly. So we're looking at roughly on average 20% growth across secure and super nodes. And this is given the fact that Zen price had crashed so much with the rest of the cryptocurrency market or the altcoin market. Now, since we've recovered since then, but you can see steady growth. So we certainly have critical support within the community and the ecosystem for the project, and people are expanding our infrastructure. Next slide, please. And here is where I'm handing it over to Alan. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Rob. I'm just going to do a quick update. You saw the averages in the last slide, but the actual numbers now are 34,500 secure nodes and 3,450 super nodes. So yes, we keep growing and keep trying to stay ahead of the growth itself. For Q4 in 2019, some of the major items that we did to the tracking system was to aggregate 7 days worth of payments, roll those up into one payment. So now we're doing about 32,000 payments rather than 219,000. And this had a good impact on any node operator who's trying to sweep their the amounts of the rewards out of their addresses, their stake addresses, and whatever they were doing with those, maybe even probably creating more nodes with them. We also added rate limiting for the API calls because we had a few users out there that were kind of slamming some of our servers. So now that that is in place, the servers are a little happier. We also implemented stricter node authentication, just making sure all the data that's coming from nodes is what we're expecting. And there are many nodes out there that were reconnecting quite excessively, too many reconnects in a short amount of time. So we added the ability to track those and actually even create exceptions if we get too many in a short period of time. We also added code to detect some exploits and a number of bug fixes. And we'll always be doing bug fixes on every release we do. What we're focusing on now is to optimize some of the code, refactor some of the things like doing bulk updates rather than individual updates every time the node reconnects. And we're looking at this to be able to handle more nodes per server that we have out there. On the secure node system, we're currently handling or managing around 3,600 nodes. And we want to be able to allow that to grow without adding a number of new servers if we can do that. Again, we'll be working on bug fixes. And on the supernode side, what we're going to be doing is reducing the server count. We just don't need as many nodes since the optimizations. So we're going to be reducing the number of servers there. And as always, we're always making changes on the back end, like in checking the certificates and doing the challenges to make sure that there's nobody out there who are exploiting any potential issues with the code. And for this next update, it'll be after the deprecation, which I believe is going to be on February 25th, and about that time. So after that point, we will announce the updates and do the deployment for the tracking server updates. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Lucy with a marketing update.
Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. This is Lucy on behalf of the marketing team. So I will highlight some of our biggest accomplishment in the year of 2019, and then focusing on the performance and updates in the last quarter of 2019. And then I will highlight some of the big things we have in the pipeline for 2020. So next slide, please. So in 2019, we saw a massive community growth in terms of both community size and engagement. And then on this slide, we can see the growth trend on some of our main communication channels. And then by comparison to our community size of these 5 channels by the end of the year, before we gained a total growth of 884% in total, which is huge. Okay, so we see there has always been a steady growth from Q1 to Q3. And then we see a huge jump in Q4. So with the big growth in Q4 in terms of community size, we also see a huge increase in the engagement rate in Q4 in comparison to the previous quarter. So that's how we know most of them have become active members of Horizen community. So I'm really even more excited about that than the community size growth alone. So there's a mixture of factors that played a part in driving the growth, but the biggest contributor to the growth is our faucet, which is very, very popular, not just in the Horizen community, but also becoming very well known in the crypto space. And then that's why it keeps bringing new users to our ecosystem every minute, every day. So I will cover more of that later in this presentation. Next slide, please. Okay, so here we have more numbers to highlight our performance in 2019. So I just covered the social media growth in the last slide, and then here on the graph shows the monthly audience reach just by our Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So impressions are the numbers of people our content was displayed on someone's social feed. So it is basically how much exposure our content gets. As our followers grows and engagement gets better on our content, we get more exposure. So we see 35% increase overall on our impressions, and then also we participated in 73 events in 38 different cities in 22 countries last year. So due to the prolonged crypto winter we have been experiencing for some time now, we cut down budget for events because they're usually very costly. And then we allocated the funds to other more important areas that support the core development of the project. But despite the budget cuts, we managed to either managed to take part in 73 events and then represented Horizen in so many different places last year. And then we did that by working together with our partners and then by leveraging our regional resources and supporting our community efforts, to hold small but very engaging meetups. So really, really glad, and also I'm very grateful for the fact that we have so many friends and then Zen evangelists that really, really support Horizen. And then we also had about 32 media placements, including high-profile media outlets like NASDAQ and investing.com. I'm expecting to see more media coverage in 2020 as we make more technology breakthrough. Next slide, please. Okay, so we talked about the annual review, and then let's focus on the Q4 performance, as we haven't covered that. And then we had our biggest growth in the Q4. So presented here is some key metrics for our main website, and then our blog side, we post our major updates, and Academy, which is a free educational center for anyone who wants to learn about blockchain and cryptocurrency. So on the top form, we see huge increase on users for all three websites. So there are significantly more people visit our websites. And the more exciting thing is that we see a huge number of new visitors coming to our websites as well. And then we know they're real user traffic because we also see big increase in the number of sessions, average session duration, and page views. And then we see a drop in bounce rate. So these users, they come to our website and then they take their time to learn about us. So, but we do see a drop in average session duration and an increased bounce rate for the Academy. So as I mentioned before, we welcomed a large number of new people into our ecosystem. And then they're actively learning about projects, checking out all of our products, browsing all of our channels. So there are significantly more new visitors to our Academy, and our Academy is pretty new and newly launched. But they're not spending too much time on there yet, okay? Due to the nature of the Academy, which is an educational center. The content there is timeless, comparison to other channels where we post updates. So people don't feel like it's something pressing that they necessarily wanted to read about like right now. They may come back later. But with that being said, we will be improving the Academy. So we will see, I'm sure that we will see these numbers turning green very soon also. And then back to the traffic increase. So where did all the large traffic coming from, right? So we see all those increases. So same as social media growth, we know the biggest traffic channel is our faucet. New users that come through our faucet make their way to our other communication channels, including our websites, because they want to learn about us. They want to know what Horizen is about, right? So meanwhile, we also see big traffic increase from organic search and then our social media, which shows the faucet working with other marketing effort is making a huge impact over the board. Like a lot more, for instance, a lot more people search about Horizen or information relates to Horizen on Google, and our social media performance is really picking up as well. And then also our newsletter sign up rate on our website reached something crazy number like 1,248% on our main website and 892% on our blog. So, and I really would like to take this opportunity to shout out to our growth director, Jonathan, and our UX director, Gustavo, and his team. So they're the masterminds and the muscle behind this, our insanely successful faucet. And I know they're adding more cool features to the faucet and making it even better as we speak. And then I will talk more about that soon. And then Erica, thank you, Erica, for keeping our social media growing and engaging for the community. And then our designer team, Linda and Marco, for the awesome design support for the websites and videos and social media. And then Meta for his nonstop support and stay connected with our partners and community. So all the growth that I just talked about is, definitely a result of a team effort. So really excited, and thank you guys. Next slide, please. All right, so this is our faucet. So our faucet, for people who don't know, our faucet basically, our faucet provides a risk-free way for people to join the Horizen ecosystem and try out our new products or experience blockchain or cryptocurrency in general, figuring out what this is all about. So it is definitely not really a way to earn Zen or a crypto to that you can make a living, but it's definitely a great portal for you to enter the crypto world. So now our faucet is built with our community in mind. We always think about, okay, how we can help our community to learn about not just Horizen, but experience the crypto, the blockchain world. So we are doing, it really has grown from a very basic faucet, but into a very interesting and engaging way to use, to try out cryptocurrency or blockchain products. And then we did many rounds of revamping, upgrades, and then we know that people would like us to increase our incentives, rewards for people to join, and we did that. So some of the most recent upgrades that we did for Faucet is that we added authentication through social media accounts, the user social media accounts, and then for the in return they will be rewarded by more Zen, and they get bonuses for authenticating their social media accounts. And then that way, we basically help real users to make more Zen, and then just to basically, the more you would like to learn about blockchain, the more Zen that you will get. And then the next one is that we also, and this is an ongoing effort that we always update our UX to make sure that our users use our faucet in a very smooth way. And then we still get a lot of questions and feedback from our community, and then we continuously make improvement based on all the comments that we receive. And then we also added advanced features to combat spam and the malicious, a system like that is bound to receive some abuse, which is completely expected. And then it also gives us an opportunity to improve our system to make it more secure, but also to protect the benefits for the real users so they can make more Zen. And then we also added a multi-language for our global community, as we all know that Zen users are from all over the world, and then not all of us speak English. So we added a lot of many different languages. So we want to be inclusive, and then to provide a fair chance for everyone to use our faucet. And definitely, there's a long way to go, but we are getting there, and we're getting better and better. And then there's also a very awesome feature in the faucet, which is the referral program, that you can make more Zen by referring, inviting your friends, your or the people in your social network to use Zen, and then in return you will be rewarded by more Zen. So it's a win-win situation for all of us. So if you still haven't really tried out our faucet, definitely do that. Next slide, please. All right, so again, so we have a lot of communication channels because we want to talk to people no matter where you are, right? So, and then we continuously making improvement on all the channels. So in the last quarter, we revamped our team page, mining pool page, and then also we added a new page that provides information about how to host ZenNodes on our main page. So all of these updates and improvements, the goal is to make it easier for a user to use, to navigate, to find the useful information. And then we'll always optimize our information, making sure the information is up to date and it's useful. And then also, we also, make sure that everything look cool and awesome. And then we are still making more improvements to our not just main website, but all of our platforms. So stay tuned for more updates. And then just a reminder that we have weekly insider on Discord, on our Discord channel, where our team get together and talk about our updates and then the things that we are doing and things we will be doing. Live. It's kind of it used to be an internal team call, but we opened it up to the community so everyone can join, everyone can listen in, and also ask questions. So we actually have live Q&A session every week with the leadership team and then also with the and the engineers behind this team. And then we will put the playback of the weekly insider onto YouTube, our YouTube channel, and also podcast. So if you can't make it for the live ones, then you can always listen to the playback. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is something really exciting and then also very popular within our community. We constantly do giveaways. I think it's a very fun way to get people to to engage with us, and it's just a really fun way to do with our community. And then in the last quarter, we did quite a few giveaways. So actually, right now we still have one active giveaway, which is all you need to do, you just need to come to our YouTube channel and watch a video and then answer a very simple question, in the comment section, and then you get a chance to win a very, very cool Sidechain design T-shirt. And then the good thing is it's a reoccurring weekly or bi-weekly. So if you missed out, last one, or if you didn't win, you can always keep coming back, next week. And watch more video and learn more about what we are doing, answer questions, and then get a chance to win. And then we also have one secret giveaway, that we don't really tell people on our social media channels. But if you are a user on our faucet, then you know where to find it. So make sure that you use our faucet, and then make sure that you tell other people to use the faucet so everyone can join the party. And then we had just ended 3 different giveaways, and then all of which are very, very popular. And then I wanted to congrats to 11 winners. So all of them will either win some really cool swag from our store, or they will win some Zen. So make sure that you stay tuned for more, because we will definitely keep doing those things. And next slide, please. Okay, so speaking of which, this is the another new competition that we will be doing for our community, and then we did something similar like this before with our community. But now I'm thinking, we have so many new users coming. I think we should keep doing that, because we have new talents coming to our community all the time. So this is a fan art community. So if you have artistic talents, if you know how to paint, how to do a graphic design, and you should definitely join this competition. So the theme is Horizen Sidechain. So anything that inspires you, that by the Horizen Sidechain, you should and then you can put that into a graphic design or artwork. So the prize will be the winning artwork or design can be listed on our store, can be made into really cool swag like T-shirts or mugs or pillows or hats, and then you can sell them on our store, and we will promote it for you. And then the best thing is you will keep all the profits, you will keep all the proceeds to yourself. So this is really cool. And then, we will definitely provide more details about the competition. And then we will write a blog about it. So make sure you follow us on our social media so you don't miss out on this one. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is a really exciting, very exciting. So I talked about what we did in 2019, our accomplishments, and then I'm going to talk about highlight some of the things, some of the big things that is upcoming, that we have planned for 2020. So the big goal for us, for the marketing 2020 is that we will be focusing more on growing and engaging with our community. So we're going to continue the big growth, and we will be doing more with our community. So the first thing is definitely we're going to make more improvement on the faucet. We are going to make it even more successful than it already is. And then Horizen Nodes is a huge part of our ecosystem, and then also is a way for people, everyone who's participating, making an income, a passive income from everything that we do on the Horizen platform. So we would like to invite more people to join, but the process can be complicated for non-technical people. So we want to make that process more accessible, more easy for people who are not necessarily a very tech-savvy person like myself. So we want to make sure that we include, we want to make our Horizen Node network as inclusive as possible. And then the next one is we are going to grow the Zen adoption via merchant network. So Zen adoption has always been, one of our priority. And then we would like to encourage more businesses to accept Zen, and then we will, working on a sort of strategies to increase that network. And then the next one is something that I just mentioned earlier, about Horizen Academy. So the Horizen Academy, we are going to make improvements not just to improve our content, but also make our academy more engaging and make the process of learning about blockchain or cryptocurrency more interesting, not so boring or dry. And then also the big thing is that through, for people in the process of learning, we want them to make Zen. We want to reward them for their effort to learn about blockchain and cryptocurrency. So something really exciting coming up. And then we'll be doing a revamp for the store. I think we have a really, really cool store, but I think we can do a lot more with it. And then we really want to open up the store to the community and to the outside world, other than just the Horizen world, itself. So it's going to be a very fun project that we will be doing as well. And then the last one, but not the least, is our ambassador program. It's a program that I'm really personally very, very excited about. And then also, I think, it gives a gateway and an opportunity to a lot of our Zen evangelists to take part in a project, not just getting more involved, but, in a more rewarding way as well. So that's what I have. I mean, this is just a very short list of what we have for 2020. Of course, there are a lot more, and then just a sneak peek of what we have on the list. Next slide, please. Okay, so events, we had, this is just the events in the last quarter. So as you can see, we went to a lot of different places, in Mexico, China, Georgia, Singapore, Panama, and we are, expecting more. Really looking forward to going to more events in the coming year. Next slide, please. So upcoming events, so we already have, we actually did some events already in January, and we have one more with Rolf, and then it's the good thing about this one, Crypto 2020 Digital Conference, because it's digital, it's online, so you don't need to go anywhere, you don't need to worry about if you can't make it there. And then the even more better news is that you can get a free ticket. You can still get a free ticket to to attend this conference and listen to Rolf talk about Horizen and blockchain, and then ask questions. And then next month, our community manager in China will be attending a mining summit in Chongqing. And then in March, there is the Blockchain UA 2020 that we've been there before. We were there in the past, I think, 2 years, and we will be there again this year in Ukraine. And then again, always, if you would like to host meetups, or if you like to participate in any events on behalf of Horizen, feel free to let us know. Next slide, please. Okay, so these are the regional updates. So regional updates session are places where our regional leads give updates, about the accomplishment or what they're doing in their region in a different part of the world. So next slide, please. Next slide will still be me speaking for the China market. So China market is really booming. First of all, Happy Lunar New Year for our China community members. I know they're still celebrating, and then also I know that they're going through some really difficult time now with the coronavirus. So just wanted to let everyone know that our thoughts are with you guys, and then you guys can definitely fight this through. And we had a really big community growth, but at the same time, we did a lot with our partners in China. So, for example, we had one of our partners, First VIP, is a crypto media outlet, and then they really provide very unbiased reviews about projects, and then also weekly updates about projects, and then they've got a really good viewership with everyone. And then they invited us to be a columnist on their platform, and then usually they charge people for doing that, but they that they believe in our project so much that we get to do that for free, and then they invited us to be to assign a column for us, and then we get about 55.7K views monthly on the content that we post on there, which is huge. And then Guan, our community manager, attended a panel discussion at Blockchain Forum by Chain Club, which is one of our partners as well. It's a educational community with people who are just really into blockchain technology and cryptocurrency. And then they're a huge fan of Horizen, and then we often do a joint promotion with them. And then we also did did online community presentation with our partners, NodeEasy and Fox One, and we talked to their community members. And then also Zen has added to the watch list of having on three of the biggest media outlets in the China market. So we get a lot of exposure through those channels. And then the next one, they're listed, we listed some of our main community partners, just showing the growth that we have, not just community growth, but also gaining trust and then also support from other community and the projects within in the space in China market. So really excited for what's coming for China market, and I wanted to thank our community manager Guan for all the hard work they do in China. That's it from me, and then I'll pass to Luca.
Yes, thank you, Lucy. Luca here, your favorite video maker, as Domenico Sotomayor wrote on the YouTube channel. Today I'll be speaking on behalf of NG Villarreal, representing the Latin American market. So let me tell you that in the last quarter, NG had a lot of fun visiting a new university in Tamaulipas, and this happened last November. And moreover, she also continued to interact with the community on the official LATAM user channel, the Spanish Telegram channels. And if you haven't joined that channel already, please feel free to do so. You should find the link displayed here in the slide, which is t.me/Horizen LATAM. Speaking about the new year, a lot of interesting meetups are going to happen in 2020. And in particular at University Tech de Monterrey, which is the university with which we have an important ongoing partnerships. Official dates are being defined literally in these days, so they will be shared very soon, and be ready to save the dates. Angie will communicate those on the Latin channels as well. So another reason for which you should follow the Telegram channel. And another important update is that the faucet page was translated in Spanish among, I have to say, 8 different languages in which it was localized. So please check it out. And if you are already a faucet user, feel free to use it in Spanish from now on. This was it from the Latin American market, and I'm passing it to Vano now.
Hello, everyone. Vano speaking from Georgia. So we had a roundtable right after our previous quarterly live stream on October 31st in Tbilisi, Georgia, where we discussed the local regulation and banking problems for Georgian crypto companies. And then on November 2nd, we had a huge event in Tbilisi with students of Liberty, where we had a booth at their regional conference, and a lot of people attended the event, and lots of marketing materials were taken from us, as always, from these events. I have also placed our booth at a strategic location so that it was in front of a different machine, and everyone who used that machine had our huge banner in their GIF. And then just last week, I have been in London attending the BET 2020. It is mainly an educational technology event, but there were some blockchain stuff as well. And I was able to find people interested in our academy, and also found a company which does educational solutions using blockchain, like publishing diplomas there. And they got interested in integrating into our side chains and possibly main chain also. And about upcoming events, Lucy already mentioned Blockchain UA conference, which will be on March 20th in Kiev, Ukraine, where we will have a very strong representation. And in particular, Rob will be speaking about sidechain use cases, and our own Alberto Garofalo and Roman Olinikov from IOHK will jointly present our extended model white paper. So 3 people from a single team. That will be a great representation there. And at last, we translated our amazing faucet in Georgian and Russian languages. And with the Russian translation, I would like to thank to our community member 640 kilobyte for his help. And that's it from me. And it is a Q&A time now.
Hey everyone, so we've got a ton of questions here. So the first top question is, can you please give a couple of the use cases of sidechains? I think Rolf will be the perfect person for this.
Yeah, I'm glad to have the opportunity to answer these questions. As y'all saw from the main presentation, Rob, as the team lead, does so much many things. And in this case, a lot of times we both answer questions. Today it's just me. So sidechain use cases, there's a lot of them. So think of sidechains as a standalone blockchain, where it's a blockchain that's running and you have an application, but it's not as hard to set up as a standalone blockchain. So anytime that you want to create a standalone blockchain, it involves many parties without having to trust a central authority. And that's helpful to maintain a public, immutable record. These tend to be things that governments and large organizations do now, but they may not do it well or not care about it. So like tracking ownership of items. So the government tracks ownership of houses and cars, but smaller ones like bicycles, phones, laptops, gaming characters, and items, that might be a great use for a sidechain. Tracking ownership of small real estate parcels not tracked by governments. Now, you can also track and validate public claims of accomplishments. So think of university degrees, industry certifications. That might be a good use for a sidechain. So you can see that these are all things that involve a lot of people where you want to have an immutable record. There's other ones. So like for businesses, supply chain tracking or tracking the identity of luxury goods. Like you can give each luxury good item a code, publish the code on the sidechain, and make an application to scan and validate that. And if it turns out there's like 15 different luxury goods with the same tracking code, then whoever owns the real one can bring it back to the store and have a new one issued. And there's so many different applications that are going to be created when the software development kit is made available and people start to experiment with different things. Next question.
Thank you, Rolf. So the next question is, once functionality like smart contract is implemented, what tools will be used to develop these applications? Will there be a language like Solidity, for example?
Sure. So I'm going to hand over part of this question to Alberto in just a second. But to put this in perspective, smart contracts are something where you run a blockchain and then you write an agreement on top of it. Situations are input into it, and then actions are automatically taken based upon those inputs. So it's a way to put agreements into code and not have to have a trusted person or organization in the middle of them. Our first sidechain and the sidechains that we're using and will be developing to operate the different functions of the Horizen ecosystem, like node tracking and payments, governance, so treasury and voting. Maybe we'll move private transactions and messaging to their own sidechain. Those are going to be written, as far as I know, Alberto, feel free to correct me, in the Ouroboros model, which is written in Haskell. And if we're going to continue to follow the way on the sidechains that Cardano has done their implementation, the language to create smart contracts that Cardano is using is Plutus. So Alberto, would you like to add on to that?
Oh, yeah, sure. Thanks, Rob. Yes. Okay, let me say first, we can add, the user can add vertical functionalities like applications. I mean, implementing his own centralized and decentralized application using sidechains. But moreover, and so he can use our SDK with the Robbers implementation, the Robbers consensus, and on top of it, adding his logic and whatever. But moreover, I mean, we can even see sidechain developer introducing a new sidechain who is running smart contracts. So you can even have a sidechain, a generic sidechain that is able to run smart contracts. So the user, the smart contract developer will submit his smart contract there, and everything will be run on that sidechain. So, I mean, there are no limits about that. So, because our model, let me say, is totally agnostic, let me say, about the logic that is run inside the sidechain. So the sidechain can be even a sidechain runs smart contract.
Yeah, and that's the advantage of the flexibility of the way that the unique sidechains are being set up and created by Alberto and team is the main chain does not need to know the status of the sidechains. There's specific forward transfer and backward transfer, and the sidechain tracks the main chain, but the main chain doesn't have to check the sidechain, which means that the sidechain has a lot of flexibility in its creation.
Correct.
Next question.
Thank you. So the next question, or will be the last question, is doesn't your decentralized sidechain technology forbid the use of DAG in the future?
So we talked in the last few years about converting from blockchain to directed acyclic graph, so a different way of maintaining the database, which in some cases adds speed to it. So the question is, does adding sidechains preclude the use of DAG? Well, first off, by adding the sidechains, we're able to have different sidechain applications that can do specific things much faster. So for example, we could have a rapid payments application sidechain that can do hundreds of transactions per second and do it in a beautiful little application interface and be able to scale with 20-second blocks or things like that. So having said that, the main reason going for changing to DAG for faster transactions may or may not be germane anymore. But Alberto, I do want to ask you for the specific answer to the question, does moving to having sidechains preclude the use of a DAG in the future?
Okay, from a theoretical point of view, not. Obviously, the protocol should be adopted to take care, let me say, of the different management. I mean, not having a linear blockchain, but having a DAG. So the sidechain itself, when tracks the main chain, should track it, let's say, considering this not linear history. So for sure, this is something that is possible, but requires some additional, modifications to allow it. But theoretically, I would say that it's possible.
Right. So it's one of those things that we'll put in the list of all the different things that we want to accomplish and how it will affect the performance and community and the goals, and see where it falls. And if it turns out that moving over to DAG is worth the development effort, at some point in the future, we have the possibility of doing that.
Yeah,
okay.
and even we can have even a DAG sidechain.
That's true. We could. Okay. Yeah, the sidechains are very flexible. That's what I love about the technology that y'all are creating. There's nothing else in the industry that's like this. So keep on developing, Alberto. You've got a great team that's working for you. All right. I think that's any more questions?
These are the top three questions for today's live stream due to time constraint. If you have more questions, please leave your questions in the comment section down below. So thank you, everyone. And back to you, Rolf.
Great. Thanks. Well, this wraps up our quarterly live stream for January 29th. We look forward to sharing everything that we've accomplished here in the next 3 months with the next live stream. Please join our community, stay informed, subscribe to the YouTube channel, the Twitter feed, everything else, and continue to look for new and different things to continue to engage the community interest. This is Rolf signing off. Thank you very much.